Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Croatia, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast, a daily spiritual podcast that makes ancient wisdom relevant today. I'm your host, Raghunath, with co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. This is episode 1347, here with Mara, live, spinning the dials. We have broken away from the Balkan posse.
I know, now I miss them.
Now I miss them all. They're listening live. We got Mathur Ananda and Govinda Priya and Amar Ananda from Bosnia, and Jai Gopi and all the kids. And they did something really nice. They said, you know, Raghu and Mara, you need a break, get away from everybody. And they surprised us with getting us a hotel not far from them. They might actually be sneaking around.
They could be.
But they brought us like an hour south to some beautiful, it's like breathtaking. You can't even describe it. We've never seen beaches like this in America, but happy to be here. They're feeding us well. It's just like devotee hospitality.
They're nice.
It's
devotees.
just loving us and taking care of us, making us all feel welcome. I'm adopting them as uncles for my children and aunts for my children, and having a great time. What am I missing in New York, Kaustubha?
You're missing a festival this weekend, the 50th anniversary of the installation of the deities Radha Muralidhar. So there's a big thing going on all weekend at the Bhakti Center. Radhanath Swami's there and so many other special people. And I tested negativo this morning, so I can pop in there. Yeah.
Great, Kaustubha. You're the most positive, negative person I know.
I try to keep it negative on one level and positive on the other.
Yeah. We had a great day yesterday.
Oh, so much fun.
Like a crystal clear river coming from these massive mountains.
Oh, yeah.
And we just all went down the river, jumped in, jumped off the cliffs. It was beautiful.
And you went
when I say jumped off the cliffs, I mean I sat in the boat scared while my kids did backflips off cliffs. That sort of like daredevilness is completely extinguished from my psyche.
Your mother ruined that for you early on, Raghunath.
No, I would jump off cliffs when I was a kid. And then I just got to this point. I don't know if it's old age and fear and anxiety, or it's because I watch a lot of like natural disaster videos, or if it's just because I'm Krishna conscious and like, this is Krishna's body.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that. And
maybe it's a little bit of all of
it. There's a wisdom as you get older. It's like, oh, I just dislocated my arm when I hit the water.
I know. And that's
there's no point in it, you know. You could be just as happy sitting there watching other people do it.
I'm happier.
Much
happier. Rooting for them.
That's right.
Cheering them on. Yeah, there is a fear. Like I it's horrible to say. It's like I think yoga's taken me down a couple notches. I mean, like sitting down for me, it's like, okay, I need a couple guys to get me up.
Really?
Mara says no. I don't know. Me and Mara are going to cleanse all this Italian food out of our bodies when we get back.
You should just do light yoga, Raghunath. That's what I'm doing, you know? Just like
it's too boring. Well, you can do that. You love boring things.
Well, you're hurting yourself by it.
No,
you like self-destructive things? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I need to swim or something.
No, but I'm saying, but you did all that yoga, but now it's supposed to make it so that as you get old.
I know yoga is supposed to be boring. It's supposed to be.
It's not boring. Maybe for you, it's boring.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be sattvic, but just Americans have taken children's yoga and turned it into like, I'm in the mode of passion. I need a passionate yoga.
Yeah.
Gets them to breathe a little better. Anyway, this is a daily yoga podcast. Today's Q&A day.
We really don't like yoga, but
we don't.
All right.
We think yoga is boring. We like the NHL, the most exciting sport out there. It's a cross between.
Even like the NHL, Raghunath. You're faking it.
I like the NHL.
Can you name me 5 current NHL players?
No, I can name 5
Okay.
teams. How about that?
All
I
right.
can name 5
Busted. All right. No.
I used to go to NHL games when I lived in New York City. And it's a cross between like soccer, figure skating, and mixed martial arts. It's the only sport out there where they encourage unsportsmanlike conduct.
All right. All right, let's keep it moving, Raghunath. We got questions to answer today. What about
We
announcements?
got
Did we
questions
do
to
announcements?
answer, problems to solve.
Yeah. Announcements.
Okay, let's hope we can solve them. This is the day that people write in their questions. We try our best to give them an answer from the sages of ancient India. And
But we didn't do the announcements, did we?
we didn't do
Okay.
announcements.
Mara, what you got?
All right. We have Bhakti Recovery Group meetings today, 9:30, 11, and 12:30 Eastern time. And I should mention there's no show for the next 2 days. We're back
Oh.
on Tuesday at
Whew.
6 a.m. Eastern time.
I blame Kostuba for that.
No,
Don't blame
don't
Chris
even
Tuba for
try that,
that.
Raghunath. Mr. Oh, we're partying and having such a great time over here.
When we come back on Tuesday, it's Road Rage's birthday, actually.
Shout out to Road Rage. Hey, join Wisdom of the Sages for our spiritual pilgrimage to sacred India from October 17th till October 31st. We'll explore holy cities such as Jagannath Puri. Heard of it? Udaipur, great place.
Yes.
Nathdwar, that's where Srinathji, the Gopal, famous Gopal deity, is.
Mhm.
Rishikesh, home of yoga.
Okay.
Haridwar, super wonderful city on the banks of the Ganga. And Govardhan and Vrindavan. Check out all the details on raghunath.yoga.
You know what we should do, Raghunath?
What?
Is we should have someone do some research and see if within Haridwar we know the actual place where Vidura met Maitreya and heard so much of the Bhagavatam from him. Wouldn't that be interesting to go there? I bet someone like Indradumna Swami might know that. Or he might be able to figure out how to know that.
I wonder if it was Haridwar or they changed. Because Haridwar is a new name. The old name for Haridwar, you're not going to get this, either one of you guys, used to be called Mayapuri.
You're saying
Mayapuri.
that they didn't use that name back?
They didn't use that name back then. So I wonder how the translation goes.
Okay, well, we got to look
Maybe it
into that
is. Maybe.
then. Or maybe it's a
What about
different
the
place called Haridwar.
Yeah, it might be a different place too. Okay. Let's get into these questions. The first one's from our real friend, Danielle Tompkins, who we knew live from Zoom from the UK, but we always saw her photo, never quite understood if she was a real person or AI generated. But she's real. We hung out with
She's
her
real.
at the Wisdom of the Sages retreat.
Apparently
and she's
real.
a
Although
wonderful
nowadays,
lady.
with AI, you're never sure.
I know. I'm not even sure it's you right now.
I know.
You could be held captive, and there could be an AI Kostuba.
I could be Danielle for all you know. You don't know.
God. We've opened up a
Kostuba may have asked this question.
Pandora's box, haven't we?
All right. What's
Do you have a secret code? You need a secret code in case somebody calls you
Oh.
sounding like me.
But maybe keep that
Wink.
secret and don't say
Yeah,
it
don't say it on
on
the show. But you need a secret code. I have a code for my kids. If someone sounds like me and says, "Hey, send me money,"
For real?
you know, huh?
For real?
I do.
Because
You
they
have
could
to do
use
that
AI to do it.
because they can AI your voice.
That's crazy.
I know. And they could say, "Dad, I can't talk to you right now, but I need your help. Please send me money." Every family should have secret code word.
Wow.
Don't guess either. Don't spoil my secret code.
They can probably pull that code right out of your mind.
You know what? AI could probably AI could probably go through everything I ever said
AI
and
could
pull out
plant
what
the
words
code.
I say a lot and know my password. And
AI
what's his
could
favorite
plant-
number?
It could
They'll know
plant the
that.
code in your mind and then get you to use it.
They can't do that yet. You know what I did do for AI though? I said, make me a coat of arms.
Oh,
Make me a coat of
there a
arms for
squirrel
my
in it?
family.
a squirrel, a stone wall.
It was very interesting. They made me a coat of arms and then they
Yeah.
draw it up for you and they tell me the meaning behind it.
Capo.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
How do
This
you
question-
interpret? This is what Danielle says. Danielle from the UK. How do you interpret being part of Radha and Krishna? and belonging to Radha and Krishna. I find it hard to understand. What does it mean to belong to Radha and Krishna? Sometimes people say that, well, Radha and Krishna are my very breath, they're my life and soul, right?
Yeah, it's a very
Want me
deep
to stab
question.
at that?
You want me to start?
You could start.
As you like. If you want to start, Raghunath.
Why don't I start? And you,
You
I'm
normally
good at
like to
cake.
start.
I'm good at cake making. You're good at frosting and berries
Okay.
on top.
All right. So bake your cake. What you got?
Well, what I was thinking is, it's like falling in love with anyone. If you've ever been in love out there, it's like everything reminds you. You just turned off all the light in the room by doing that, by the way, Mara. She she pulled the shades open. Everything reminds you of that person. You see a car. Oh, my girlfriend drives a white car. Then you think, oh, a hotel. We went to visit that. We went to that wedding at that
Always
hotel.
something there to remind you.
There's always something there. I was thinking of Elliott Smith song, but yes, there's something there to just remind you of that. Everything reminds you of her or him, and you can't break away. That's what love does. And so the whole practice of bhakti, our whole sadhana bhakti practice, is to really help us fall in love with Source, with God. Now, we use Source in a very unique way. We just don't say Source or light or divinity, although we say that also. But Krishna actually has a personality that is very easy to fall in love with. And how you do it is by following sadhana bhakti yoga, which requires chanting, requires bhajans, requires reading the stories of Krishna. We were sitting around, me and the Balkan crew last night. We're just sitting around late night, Banu Nandini's with us, and we're just singing and chanting to our deities on the altar. And it was just joyful. And going through everybody's heart is, I don't know what's going through their heart, truthfully, but it was actually like we're singing a love song to somebody that we love. And they become, and you start to think about when you walk by beautiful flowers, you think, oh, that would be so nice to decorate on Krishna's crown. We went into the beautiful, breathtaking city of Split, and I was thinking, imagine if all devotees lived in this beautiful city and the temples. We went to the temple of Jupiter, and like, imagine if Radha and Krishna are worshipped. And so it becomes like almost a biased look at the world. You lose your objectivity and get into a subjectivity of love. And that's what love is. Some people will say, my wife is the most beautiful woman in the world. And is that actually objective? No, it's subjective because you have now fallen in love. That's how you belong to Krishna. And he belongs to you. What do you think about that, Mr.
Well,
K?
yeah,
Special K.
I think you're covering part of it. In other words, there's the head and the heart, both, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we say, how do you interpret being part of Radha and Krishna and belonging to Radha and Krishna? What does it mean to belong to Radha and Krishna? There's the philosophical, theological conception, right? We call that like tattva, right? Like there's a way to categorize this accurately. That's the head. Let's figure out, do I belong to Krishna categorically, ontologically? And there's books of philosophy that talk about that. And then there's, on the heart level, there's the philosophical, it's like the head, and then there's like the sentimental conception. And we call that rasa. So there's tattva and there's rasa. There's ontologically, who are we in relation to Krishna? You know what? Ontologically, you belong to Krishna. Okay, we can talk about that. And then there's the rasa, the feelings. I think you're speaking especially to that, right? How do I feel? I feel like I belong to Krishna. In my heart, I feel like I belong to Krishna. So on the ontological side or the philosophical side, or in terms of tattva, the understanding is that there's the energy, and then there's the energetic source. And fundamentally, the two are one. But the energy belongs to the energetic source, right? The sun and the sunshine, in one sense, fundamentally, it's one. But it's a fact that the sunshine emanates from the sun and not the other way around. So one is dependent on the other. They're connected, but they're distinct. and one is dependent on the other. And in that sense, we belong to Krishna, right? Ontologically, we belong. We exist eternally as Krishnas, you know. Or, you know, we can say that we commonly use this analogy, that we are like the leaves, you know, that they only live and flourish when they're joined to the tree from which they grew.
Lovely.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so our awareness of that is our healthy situation, and in our ignorance of that is what causes us all the suffering. Right? That's where our philosophy kind of hits the ground. Hits the ground. This is where a lot of the Eastern philosophy goes. Life is. You go to Buddhist texts, life is suffering. You go to Vedanta. It's like, what is the cause of suffering? It is ignorance. Oh, yeah, and in Bhakti Vedanta, we get real specific. Yes, it's the ignorance that the ignorance of the ontological fact that by nature I belong to Krishna. When I forget that, when I ignore that, I suffer. When I remember that, not only am I relieved, but that opens up the door to the most beautiful esoteric kind of experience, and that's the rasa side, right? The heart side, the feelings that one has. I belong to Krishna. I sometimes you see these things on like YouTube clips and stuff, like, and they'll be on the street and they'll be like a bunch of girls, like maybe they're in their 20s, and they're being interviewed, and they're saying like, if you could cheat on your boyfriend with one guy, who would it be? And and one of them goes, oh, Brad Pitt, and the other one says, this, and the other one says that, and then one of them says, oh, I would never ever cheat on my boy. No one. There's no one in this world I would cheat on with my boyfriend. I love my boyfriend.
Marry her.
Yeah, well, that's the point. It's like that feeling, right? I belong to someone. Like that. It's actually we might think initially, oh no, I don't want to belong to anyone. No, but actually, we all do want to belong to someone. We all do want to feel that feeling, like as practicing devotees, it's like my body, my mind, my words, I dedicate them to you. Like, so let me practically engage that way through the practices of bhakti. Let me engage my body in doing devotional service, like for instance, the rituals that we perform. Let me engage my mind in contemplating your pastimes. Let me engage my words in always glorifying you. Let me engage my thoughts. Practically, we choose to engage ourselves as if we belong to Krishna. It's all yours. But it's just to uncover the reality that's experienced through rasa. That yes, I am yours, entirely yours. That feeling of love is what we're trying to uncover. Now, there's a verse in the Bhagavatam that's spoken by Sukadeva Goswami in the 10th canto during the chapter on the Rasa Lila, which is the pinnacle of all of Krishna's Leelas that he manifests in this world. And Sukadeva Goswami says Krishna manifests his eternal human-like form, right? His form as a beautiful boy, and performs his pastimes to show mercy to the devotees. Having heard such pastimes, you're right. Sukadeva Goswami is saying, I'm just speaking to you right now about the Rasa Lila, Krishna's beautiful dance of love with the gopis. Having heard such pastimes, one should engage in service to him, right? In other words, when you hear of his love, when you hear of his mercy, when you hear of his beauty, when you hear of all of his all that he is, the natural response, unless you're warped, unless you're seeing the world through a warped mind, is I belong to you, I serve you, right? And then in commenting on that verse, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he writes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is from chapter 5 of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he's commentating on that Bhagavatam verse, but these chapters are so full of they're just so rich in their theology, So he says, having heard that, he says, here the use of the verb bhavet, which is in the imperative mood, meaning you must do, tells us that this certainly must be done. Non-compliance would be an abandonment of duty. It's kind of like saying to a leaf, hey, you cannot disconnect. You must stay connected. Otherwise, you will dry up. You know, you belong. That's going back to the ontological, you know, we belong to Krishna ontologically, but in a very beautiful way, we can experience what Raghunath was speaking about, that feeling. I belong to Krishna. I don't, I mean, and that means, you know, when we belong to someone through love, it means we belong to you exclusively. In other words, we tend to think, I belong to this family, I belong to this nation, right? I belong to this species. We're saying, no, you don't. You don't belong to that family.
I know. Isn't it interesting? It's really hard.
I belong to Krishna. I don't belong to this family. I don't belong to this nation. I don't even belong to the species. Radha and Krishna. I belong to you. And on the very esoteric level, because she's putting Radha Krishna in there. We understand Krishna is the fountainhead of all energies. Radha is the personification of the most wonderful of those energies, the pleasure potency, the potency of love that gives Krishna pleasure. She is the personification of that. We follow in the footsteps of Radha. In this bhakti lineage, our understanding is by being trained how to practice bhakti, following in the footsteps of the Goswamis, who are the loyal and most deeply realized followers of Radha. This is how we belong. In one sense, we belong to Radha more than we belong to Krishna, you know, but she's completely Krishna's. So on an esoteric level, it means I learn how to practice bhakti from my guru, who learned it from his guru, who learned it from following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami and the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. We all belong to Radha. And by belonging to Radha, we belong to Radha and Krishna. That you know, that's an more esoteric way of saying it. So, Danielle, your question is like infinitely deep, but this is just kind of scratching the surface of it.
Now I've got to give a special, what's it called when you have the special detour? It's not really a detour. It's just a caveat here. Some people are listening with their parents, like Bhakti Udi and his mom. Bhakti Udi, you do belong to your mom. Okay. I just want you to know that. Do whatever she says.
You don't.
Okay. You belong to your mom. And we also have Dion and Monica, I think.
My children are watching, and you belong
to each other. No, we understand that we have love in the material world, but that love is also temporary. I mean, think about how broken. Very often you go to the Barnes and Nobles, there's so many books on relationship. Oftentimes the brokenness of the relationship is our own brokenness we're bringing into coupleship. And we spend, you know, so much money on couples therapy and so much money on working on ourselves and how to repair relationship. Our men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And actually we're neglecting our supreme relationship. Right. That is the most important thing. We're becoming expert at couple relationships, but we're forgetting our main relationship, right? We're majoring in minor things. You know what I mean? The major thing, the thing we should be majoring is...
We're majoring in minor things. We should be minoring in we should be majoring.
We should be majoring in major things.
That's right.
But we major in minor things. Yes.
Major in major things, minor in the minor things.
Our major should be how to fall in love with God again. And from that, you will have sweet relationships.
Yes.
You'll have sweet relationship. Matter of fact, when you major in that, you'll pick a right partner.
You'll see every relationship within that context. In other words, Udi belonging to his mother is truth as long as it's within the broader context, right?
Sure. And it is. And you know what's interesting about Udi? It is in relationship. You could see the mother is so supportive of his spiritual quest. And that's what love is. Now, sometimes we say, we love my son. We hear this with parents or as a child. Sometimes our parents says we love them, but oftentimes we feel like they have expectations for me. They're trying to control me. They don't have my best interest in mind. They have their interest in mind. Sometimes even within a relationship, and it becomes a sick type of codependence. But when we want that person to actually walk towards light, truth, and God, to how they understand God, that is love.
Now listen to this, Raghunath.
Tell me.
Udi's mom replied, "Oh, he came through me, but he belongs to God. It was a hard one to accept, but it is true." Whoa.
That's a deep realization.
Now,
Mother
hold it.
Udi.
That's his mother sitting next to him over there?
That's his mother. She's
Come
younger than me, I
on,
think.
get outta
Isn't that
here.
sad, Kostuba? Mothers are
Hold it, I gotta
now
blow this
younger
up.
than
One
me.
second. Pin this. Yeah, she looks like she could be your daughter, Raghunath.
I know. You know what? I got a shave the other day, and there were all these. I went into like a barber in Croatia. And they were all like these young, like strapping young men shaving other strapping young men up and shaving their beards and making. And I was like coming in there. I was really cool, and I'm sitting in the chair, and I said, "How'd you learn how'd you learn how to do this?" And he goes, "Oh well, don't take this personally, but I learned on old men like you." I was like, I go to this place in where they sit around these old men clubs and they play old men gambling
Because old men
games.
like you always look really bad. You desperately need someone to do
And
the grooming
no
on
one's cutting. It was like that. And these guys, and I said, "Hey, I'll cut all your hair for free as practice." And they're like, "Okay." He's like, "Don't take that personally." I was like,
take it
any
very
other
personally.
insults before you start my beard?
you. I take that very personally.
I take old men. I somehow think I'm not old, but in young, strapping young lads' minds,
You're old.
I'm old. Okay, that's all right though. That's
All right.
okay.
I'm the same age as you, Raghunath. So, but
I
I
know,
just shaved
you're
up
old.
today, so I look
You're old, and it makes you look younger. I've got a white Santa Claus beard.
Yeah.
Okay,
next
here's the next question.
Who's it from?
This is from Danielle. It's a different. No, this is from Daniel. The first one was from Danielle Tompkins. This is from Daniel via email on June 11th.
Daniel, my brother. You know that one, Raghunath? Daniel, my brother.
No, I don't. I
Elton John.
Okay. I've been listening to Wisdom of the Sages since around summer 2020. He's an early
Yeah.
joiner.
That came in a few months in.
Yeah. Right after the pandemic. And feel very blessed and grateful to have had your association every
thank
day
you, Daniel.
through this podcast for the past few years. Isn't it weird? People listen to us every day. They see us every day. They know all about our lives, all about our ups and downs, all about our struggles, joys, and hopes. And we know nothing about them. It seems unfair.
It is what it is, Raghunath.
They've seen me laugh. They've seen me cry.
They've
seen me almost die.
They've seen you naked, Raghunath.
They've seen me naked. I'm naked before God. Okay. I've been listening to Wisdom of Sages since around summer 2020, and I feel very blessed and grateful to have your association every day through this podcast for the past few years. I've been able to get absorbed in the Bhagavatam in a way I never could have otherwise.
That's what it's all about.
I have a couple questions, a couple prasadam related questions.
What does prasadam mean for those?
Prashada means things offered in love to God. So it could be a flower garland, and then you take it off the deity, and then they offer it to someone in the temple. That's called prasad.
But
It
commonly,
could be the sandalwood paste. But what he's talking about is food that you offer to God in appreciation. Like this food, I didn't create it. I've created nothing. You ever think like that? Like, what have you
Nothing.
ever created? Well, I created this painting. How did you create it? Well, I borrowed all these elements from the earth and plastics and petroleum or minerals. I didn't create nothing. I'm a secondhand God that takes, chops down, digs into the earth, and then I create something. I said, look at my creation. I've created nothing.
Nada. Okay.
So anyway,
so the Bhakti yogis, they offer their food to God before they eat it, and so when
from
he says
appreciation.
Prasadam,
Look at these beautiful
out of love,
figs.
out of
Thank
love.
you, God. Look what you've created.
Or
I can't create a
even
fig.
more than that. Like, I love you, so let me cook for you.
I love you. Yes. I grew this for you in my garden. Now I'm going to offer it to you.
Okay.
Do you like that?
So when he says prasadam, he means the food.
The food that's offered to Krishna with love.
Okay.
So he said, fasting is embraced in many religious traditions, including our tradition. for the spiritual benefits of it.
Okay.
Yep. I've learned from personal experience that fasting is very tricky for me because
Okay.
I'm predominantly Vata dosha
Ayurvedic
and have
terminology.
so is Kastuba and have
I'm
a,
a Vata. I have a Kapha side to me, but I think
do
predominantly.
you?
I do.
Where, in your palms?
What do you mean? Talking about
You
my
have
palms.
kapha palms?
No, but certain aspects are Kapha, but
Okay.
more primarily Vata.
Vata. Fasting is, okay.
You see, and so whereas Raghunath is more Kapha Pitta.
I'm kapha pitta. I'm
So your Kapha is earthy, and it means like it means your body is storing energy. Like when
earthy, wet, oily.
oh,
That's
okay,
kapha.
well, it's slimy, practically.
You ever have that slime thing when you're little, you pull it out? That's me.
So, but that means your body, it stores energy. Whereas like a Vata constitution person, they might have to eat more meals in the day because their body doesn't store energy. So fasting for them is going to be more challenging. They don't have the reserves.
They don't have the
their
reserves.
body.
I've got plenty of reserves.
You go, okay.
I'm
You're
like a camel.
with two humps.
Well, one hump is my belly. My I'm gonna stop
Just
now.
leave it there.
Hare
Leave it
Krishna.
there. Okay. All right. So he's Vata constitution. It means it's going to be a person whose the air is more the element,
Yeah.
predominant, and it's not the ideal fasting constitution.
No, they tend to lean into hangriness.
Do they?
They don't eat and they get. "Urgh."
They
I'm
start to freak
finally
out.
getting to place of acceptance about all of this, but it's taken a lot of trial and error, mostly error, and individual counseling for me to understand that complete fasting may not be the most beneficial practice for me.
Okay, so you're seeing people within the tradition and they're fasting. Maybe particularly we fast on holidays, right? Certain holidays we fast.
Yeah.
And people sometimes they like to fast on Ekadashi, which comes up once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
We
maybe you're
say,
seeing other people do it. You're thinking, oh, look at that. Look what they're doing. That seems like to be a pretty cool thing to do. And you're doing it and it's not good for your body. Probably playing with your mind a little bit too. Right?
sure. And there's a lot of rules, what you can eat, what you can't eat. Can't eat
When?
sesame seeds on a fasting day. Weird things like an American's like, you can't eat hing. I wasn't going to even eat hing. There's like a list of don'ts and a list of do's, and sometimes they cross and it doesn't make sense. And
All right.
guess what? Our Haram Guru,
Don't answer
our
it yet.
Guru's Guru.
Read the whole thing.
I'm just going to say that don't major in minor things. The major thing here is, we fast to remember Krishna.
I like this, Ragnar. It's a new way of saying keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, don't major
Don't
in
major
minor
in
things.
minor things.
Here's
I
all
like
the
it.
details of things we don't fast on.
And I condemn people for not following it, and I make it the biggest thing in my mind, and I
Yeah.
forget the purpose, the major thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it was near Ekadashi, and they brought in like the best chef from Italy for the pizza party. And we had a divided council in Italy.
They made a pizza with this spelt flour or something. What was it again?
The spelt's a
Whatever it
grain,
was.
baby.
It was excellent. It was excellent.
Yeah, I know. I broke it by mistake. I fasted all day because they were like, "Yeah, don't worry. He makes a Ekadashi pizza." So when they brought up this pizza, I was like, "Wow, that's awesome! It looks like a normal pizza."
Only some of it was Ekadashi pizza.
Only certain pizzas were Ekadashi pizzas.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah. Don't major in minor things.
Don't major in minor things.
You're going to use that for anything now?
I use it for everything now.
All right. Keep reading.
All right. So.
So he's finally come to terms with maybe it's not a good idea that I fast.
Yeah. If I get nervous when I hear all the talk about fasting in Hare Krishna circles as being so beneficial. And I know while that may be true for most people, there's a considerable segment of the population for which it can provide a rationalization for engaging in something that is actually self-harming behavior.
Fasting.
I also wonder when I see rail-thin brahmacharis if I'm missing something somewhere.
Or are they missing something somewhere? I
Or are
think
they missing a meal they should be eating? No mainstream dietitian I've ever worked with would consider one meal a day adequate nutrition. But if I were living as a brahmachari, it would be the norm.
I don't know if that'd be the norm, but
I don't know. Welcome to the 50s. I know a lot of people who do one meal a day because they find
welcome
that's
to
the
the
best.
50s. What does that mean?
They're like, if you're in your 50s,
Oh, I see what you're
I
saying.
know a lot of people who eat one meal a day for, they do intermittent fasting.
Okay.
Um. Anyway,
I don't really have.
I don't really have a specific question here, I guess. I'm just curious to know if you have thoughts or experience to share on this topic. I'm also wondering if you have any advice on how to navigate expectations in Vaishnav culture around giving and receiving. Or this is a different twist here.
Now he's so the first thing had to do with what do you think about fasting? Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? What are the dynamics within the Vaishnava communities? Can you speak? And now he's going to another area, which is it's a fact that our culture, a very rich and prominent part of our culture is the food.
Yeah.
And the idea of sharing that food with another and receiving that food from another. So
Sure.
if he's got, particular ideas about his diet that he wants to follow, but he's moving around in a world where like people are here, accept this
Suppose he's
loving offering from-"
gluten-free. Suppose he's gluten-free.
and he's being offered
A piece of
glutinous
focaccia.
prasad all the time. How do you, because the food is considered sacred and the gesture is considered an act of love. Do you just shut it down or do you accept it and suffer? What do you do? That's where he's going, right?
You know what? I get that. I've had both experiences. First thing,
Well, before
major
you
and the
answer-
major thing, which
Well,
is understand the essence of why we're fasting. If it's
Why
making
don't
me
you read
distracted
the
from
whole-
Krishna,
the whole question before you answer it, though, Rogan.
what's that?
You're answering it now, but why don't you finish? Let him
Okay,
say
let
his
me
whole thing
finish what he
before you
said.
answer it.
All right. How and when is it appropriate to let someone know that a particular kind of prasad doesn't agree with them? Or
I
when I
think you
should just
skipped a little bit.
smile
You
and
skipped a little bit.
tolerate the discomfort of eating it?
You skipped a. If I have dietary
Okay.
restrictions,
If I have dietary restrictions and someone invites me to their home and offers me a certain kind of prasad that I can't eat for health reasons, how can I decline it without offending them?
okay.
Sometimes language barriers can make it hard to communicate. I have a special dietary needs and I often end up accepting prasad that is not good for me and paying the price with negative health consequences afterwards, or having to find a respectful way of disposing of it. What do you throws it in the Ganga? What's he? I wonder what they're thinking
Well, yeah,
about.
we don't like to just take this sacred prasad and just
Yeah.
toss it.
I'm sure you both have a lot of experience with this kind of thing. I'd be grateful for any advice you could share on how to more skillfully deal with this. Thanks so much for your podcast and all the amazing wisdom and love that you share. Great question, Daniel.
Yeah.
Sometimes in India, we get offered prasad and we're not sure where it's coming from. I get a little sketchy, especially like with
do you
water. Like they offer like Charnamrita. Like
Oh,
Charnamrita is
right.
when they bathe the deity with sacred water and then they distribute it. So you'll just be going by some temple and then they're like, here's some sacred water, and they put it in your palm.
Drink it.
And then I do the famous
Then they
put it
look
to
at
my
you.
lips,
No, Raghunath.
put it on my head. No one knows I didn't drink it. So it's sort of like honoring it and rubbing it on your head. I do that trick. One time, I got called into a temple, just
Right.
walking around Vrindavan.
Raghunath, the funkiest ways to answer this question. Raghunath has all kind of tricks.
What,
Okay.
now, I'm going to tell you the opposite of, because sometimes I just say, you know what, give me a speck of it so I can honor it. But my body's not healthy, or I give some excuse
Okay.
for my body. Give me a speck. I did that the other day. Give me a speck to honor it, just a little piece of it, or give me a tulsi leaf.
Now
Like
you've
that.
honored it.
But one time though, I was a brahmachari. I was not eating sweets. I was not eating anything fried, in India, because sometimes they fry it in a bad oil. I was not eating any deep fried things or any sweets. So I'm walking around Vrindavan. I hear a beautiful kirtan and I get drawn into this temple. and and some old man calls me in, come, Prasad, Guru Maharaj, Maha Mahotsav. Like it's his guru's,
Big
appearance
birthday
day or
party.
something. And they just sort of sat me down in such a loving way. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to eat with these people, but I'm just going to eat some rice and some dal.
Beautiful
Boss.
part of the culture, though, isn't it?
Yes, come. I don't even know you.
The
You're
whole
just some
idea
white
is
kid walking around, a dirty doty.
we
and just-
believe that it'll please God. We believe that it'll bring auspiciousness to ourselves and to everyone if we make you happy. And what's a
Yeah.
better way to make someone happy than to feed them nicely? Except if
them.
they don't want it.
Yeah. No, well, you know what? I said, you know what? I'm just going to eat rice and dal, and I'll just say no to everything else.
Okay.
This is another way. I just put up my boundaries. Now, what I noticed is they didn't serve rice. They served a very oily sabji. They served a very,
oily
puris. Then they served puris,
Which is a deep fried bread.
which a white flour deep fried in God knows what. And then I was like, okay, I'm waiting. And that's all that came around. And then they desired this, then they delivered this tennis ball size sweet ball sponge. And they put it on the plate. And I realized that's all we're getting.
You're in deep. Right?
You're in. How are you going to walk away from this? And I just said, you know what? I'm going to eat this as Krishna. I'm going to eat this as I'm honoring Krishna's prasad. And
There
it
you
was
go.
nothing was part of my diet. And I was really scared of getting sick.
You
And I felt
digested that.
great.
Like,
I felt great. I felt a lot of love. I didn't, sometimes they say that, if you're like a yogi who's really focused, you could like just walk through a wall. Ever heard that? It's a certain point.
not exactly, but
If your mind really thinks you can walk through the wall, you could just walk through that wall. You got to be, but you're not got to be focused.
Matrix thing.
Yeah. So I
Raghunath's
felt that
taking it
way
to
with the
the
food. I was
matrix
like, you know
level.
what? I am eating Krishna's remnants, and it's going to be nourishing for my soul, and I'm going to eat it.
Sometimes
and I ate
you
it. And
surrender.
it felt fantastic.
You know what, Raghunath? I think
Yeah.
there is just something practical in what you're saying. Is that I get it, Daniel. It's for all people. We should have some, especially as we get older, we have to be conscious of our diet, and we draw boundaries. But it's also okay to occasionally slip from those boundaries and come right back in. In other words, what Raghunath is saying, I might do that too. I don't like to eat late in the day.
It's not just Raghunath.
It's not just Raghunath. Yeah.
Note that down.
Well,
Raghunath would do that. Here's the takeaway mantra today, Kastuba. Sometimes Kastuba says it's okay.
All right.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
There it is.
Yeah, it's just sometimes. Don't try not to be too rigid about it. Understand that it's a principle that you want to keep, and it's not sacred in itself. It's helpful, right? Let's dig into the whole thing. Let's go to the first part of the thing, which had to do with fasting.
All right. I like how you dissect this. Take it apart there. You're like a mechanic.
I'll
Just
try.
take things apart, put
I
it
hope I
back
can put it
together,
back
make it
together.
better than it was.
Hope I can put it back together. Fasting is definitely part of the broader yoga culture, and it's definitely part of the Vaishnava culture, the Bhakti-yoga culture, no doubt. I believe that a lot of it is within the ashram context, living in an ashram, right?
Yeah.
And when you live in an ashram, someone's got to cook, and it takes time to cook. It takes a lot. I believe a large part of why we fast on Ekadashis once every 2 weeks is, and I really realize this now, Raghunath, because my wife's not here cooking for me every day,
Yeah.
So when I realize just how much time of my day and how much energy it takes for me to cook my meals every day. If I have a day where I want to fully dedicate myself, like this is a special opportunity today, Ekadashi, special opportunity, Janmashtami, Radhastami, special days where you want to say, let me bring my awareness to Radha and Krishna more exclusively and wholly, then one easy way to do that is just to remove all the cooking and the cleaning and the shopping and everything that's involved with eating. Just
Buy some
we're not going to do it today.
Lara-bars.
Yeah, we're just not. Well, no, but you see, that's a practical response. You're laughing, but here's my point. Let's say that for Daniel, when he fasts completely, that it has a negative physical effect it causes, and that also causes a negative mental effect. And so the point of the day is to bring your mind more to hearing and chanting about Krishna. And the fasting is actually working against you now. Rather than working for you, it's working against you. Then you say something like what Raghunath said. Okay, you know what? Today I'm going to eat so I don't find myself in that position where my body is malnourished and my mind is disturbed. But I'm going to eat very simply today, enough to keep me fueled up, but without all the effort. And so therefore, like our acharyas, sometimes they say, like on this day, well, then just have some fruit on that day, right? Okay, that's a great way. That is a type of fast, you know, but it's a fast that's recognizing the limitations of your body and the sensitivities of your mind, you know. So really what Raghunath is saying, you know, it's all the people that are mature in bhakti, they always know why we're doing the practices that we're doing. And so they can recognize when the practices are working for their purpose, or sometimes when the practices are actually working against the very purpose that they were there for. You know, I shared this story before, but there was one brahmachari, he just popped in for a little while and then he was gone. This was 35 more years ago, you know, that kind of popped into our world and then popped out.
Who is that?
I don't even remember his name, but he kind of came from a background of, I don't know if it was Buddhist or had some kind of Vedanta background. He was, look at Raghunath, he just saw a new thing come up on the board. You're like a fly going straight for the fire, man. You're like,
So
get
distracted.
sucked in so quick. You get all excited.
I was still listening, man. I got 2 ears.
Yeah, okay. So, but this person came from a background where they fasted, where they practiced Mauna Vrata, vows of silence.
Yeah.
And when they came into our bhakti culture, we see those as minors, not as the majors. And he was kind of like, but I really get into that stuff. And you guys aren't into fasting, and you guys aren't into vows of silence. You're into chanting, you know, out loud.
Singing all the time.
Yeah.
And feasting.
So,
We also feast.
So he asked my guru, he said, you know, I've kind of raised, and I feel, when I do these, I feel them lift my awareness up. I feel a greater clarity. And now I'm in a position where I'm being told not to do these things. So what my guru did was he kind of had a way of prescribing them in harmony with the mood of our lineage.
Sure.
So he said, okay, if you like to fast, then on Ekadashis, where most of us fast just from grains and beans, he said on that day, which comes up roughly once every 2 weeks, you fast totally on that day. Right? Fast totally on that day. And as far as vows of silence, he says, yeah, we generally don't do that, and it's not going to work well in this ashram. But he said, but when you sit to chant your japa, which is about 2 hours every day, you take a vow that I will only chant this name and I will not speak to anyone on any subject while I'm doing this, you know. So he found ways of engaging that propensity for austerity that this person had in a way that's harmonious and moves and is working towards the major rather than the minor, right? To take that propensity and rather than focus it on the minor, focus it on the major, which is developing that love for Krishna, that prema, which is what we're trying to do. So here's the point. Daniel is saying almost the opposite. He's saying when I fast, I don't feel it improving my awareness. I don't feel it bringing my awareness with greater clarity and lucidity towards Radha and Krishna's pastimes. I find it more difficult to meditate on, hear and chant, and to meditate on Krishna's name and form and qualities and pastimes when I'm fasting. I feel my body breaking down. I feel my mind starting to go nutso. Okay, then it's working against the purpose. Then let's find a way where you can fast and not fast, right? Maybe eat fruits that day, or maybe eat enough so that you can bring your mind to Krishna, which is our goal. That's the major, right? Okay.
I can give a good
you
pro
want to add
tip
on to that one?
I'll just give a pro tip for those who do want to do
Pro
Nirjal.
Life
pro
hack.
tip. Pro tip for fasting because one day a year we fast
Josh,
without water.
Oh,
And that
Nirjala
it just
fast.
happened a few weeks ago.
A few days ago.
Here's the pro tip for that. If you practiced
Cheating. Drinking water when you bathe in the river, just
when you're
drink as
taking
much
a
as you can.
shower, lean your head back and say and sing a song. No, if you're doing intermittent fasting, 3 days before. So you maybe eat your first meal at 11 one day, your next meal at 1 the next day, and your next meal at 3 the next day. So you're pushing down away your eating time.
Okay.
Intermittent, the day of Nirjal or a full fast, even with some water, it just becomes very easy.
Well, you see, we're gonna, but you're the Kapha constitution. It's gonna make it harder.
Yeah,
for
that's
Daniel.
for people who want to do that have that kapha constitution and want to fast, but they're because even with myself, if I'm eating breakfast every day and then I jump right into Nirjal or another sort of like a physical thing people do that's problematic, I find, is fast all day on Krishna's appearance and then feast at midnight. It's like just throws your body in shock to eat that much after fasting. You see that in a lot of traditions too. I think Ramadan or something, or Jewish traditions where like they'll do a complete fast and then they'll indulge. It should be like an honored fast. It shouldn't be like once you slam your body and your digestive system after fasting, it can throw the body into shock.
Little life hack from Raghu. Don't throw your body into shock.
Little pro tip, fasting pro tip.
Okay, now the second part of his story had to do with people are lovingly offering you this beautiful sacred food, which makes you feel obliged to take it, but it may not fit in with your dietary restrictions that are important for you keeping your head in the right place. How do you respond? And Raghunath, his thing was you go for it.
That was one of my things.
That was
I
one
also
thing.
say, give me a little speck to honor
That's
it.
another way. You know what I thought? There's a story that I've heard. I don't know where it's from, but I'm almost sure it's a bona fide story, Raghunath. Okay. And that's
I appreciate unbona fide ones too.
I know you do. I know you do. Is a story about Sri Chaitanya himself. And I think some fault finders, someone was trying to expose him as not being such a great sannyasi or something like that.
Ramachandra Puri.
It wasn't Ramachandra Puri. But their strategy was this, is that we will offer him Krishna's Mahaprasadam on Ekadashi, which is a day where you fast, especially a strict sannyasi like Mahaprabhu should be fasting entirely on that day.
So that way they could find fault with him either way.
Either way, if you don't accept it, that's wrong. You didn't honor it. If you do accept it, you broke the fast. What's the matter with it? So they were trying to nail him. You know what he did, Raghunath?
No.
When they brought him that Krishna Prasad, and there's still hours to go before the fast was going to be broken, what do? He began to offer prayers to the Prasad, glorification of the Prasad. Krishna's mercy in the form Prasad is the greatest kindness of the Supreme Lord. This food has been offered with love, and it's a manifestation of... He started offering prayers to that food with great reverence. And he kept offering prayers and kept offering prayers and kept offering prayers until the time to break the fasts came. And then he broke the fast. Interesting.
All right.
Now,
Do that.
So the point
How many
was,
prayers do I have for Prashad though?
So here's the point though. He would not cross the line where he didn't honor it. So
I get it. He honored it.
He honored it. He was careful to honor it. We honor it. Internally, it's important that we honor it because that's how we develop the right sentiments. That's how we culture our mind and heart to be in alignment with truth and in alignment with prema and in alignment with love and in alignment with our own true nature. So it's important that we don't blow it off as if it's some ordinary thing. When we sit down to honor prasadam, that means when we sit down to eat any food that we eat, because we only eat prasadam, it really should be done with this deep awareness and appreciation that what I'm receiving, what I'm ingesting in my body right now is an incalculable gift of mercy. Every bite of this is incredibly purifying and satisfying. It's kind of like the Catholics when they have the Eucharist, they say this is the body of Christ, and they go up there in a very reverential mood. You know
what do they mean by that?
Don't worry about that.
I was always like, what?
But it's the whole thing is reverential.
This is his blood. This is his body.
Like remember that the altar boy would put that little platter right underneath you so you won't drop it on the floor. Like
that platter under your chin.
Yeah.
And you always catch me like, ah.
Did yours ever fall on the platter, Raghunath?
One time I licked his hand. It was awkward.
Excuse me.
Just by mistake because they put it, and then they switched it. The year I was doing it, they switched it to the hand reception. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's that way too.
There's
They
that
put their own-
that was a new thing that started in the 70s.
It was it.
Yeah, they didn't do that
Hand
before that.
reception.
Now it's hand recept, they're like hand or mouth, and you have
Okay.
the option.
But here's the point. We honor it one way or another. So one way you could do it is you could just say, my dear friend, it is so nice of you to offer me this great mercy. I cannot honor it because of my dietary restrictions, but I offer my obeisances to this sacred food that you've prepared and offered, and I thank you. Or one could even just touch it and place it on their head, like just a little, or touch the pot or the plate or, whatever. In some way, honor it. In
The
some
thing
way.
is, Kastuba, you're nailing it. I think it's we have to become more conscious beings,
Yes.
and we are conscious that it's being offered to us, but we're also conscious as Krishna's body, and you
Conscious
made this
also that it
point.
was offered with love, and we don't want to block that, throw a wall
Yeah.
in front of that, right?
we want to honor it, like, oh, Mara, okay, and also, like, in Kastuba was saying, like, well, we should eat all prasad. And a lot of us, like, a little red flag went out for some of us who are like, well, I can't always eat prasad because I always don't cook or have someone cook for me. And I'm out right now and I'm probably going to get a bag of potato chips to hold me over for dinner.
Offer
We
that
should
bag
at
of
least
potato
have
chips.
a moment in time where we can take some food, even though we may not be able to cook it, put it on our altar or something. We should work towards that. And then any food we eat out, perhaps you can't put it on an official temple, but we should think of God and in our heart offer this to God.
Give me one moment in time. You know that one, Radha?
I don't.
I don't know who sings it, but
So anyway, we're gonna. It's 401
song
here
guy
in
today.
Croatia. But I will say, sometimes Kastuba says it's okay. And I'll end with that. Thanks everybody for joining us. Woo! We got dates for next year's Italy, by the way.
oh yeah, I saw that this morning.
Yeah.
And we're gonna
Hard
do
to
a
get-
CC.
It's hard to get time there. Kastuba wants to take everybody to a CC.
We're going to CC, and you're coming. You got to decide whether you're part of this or not, right now. You with us?
Not against you, but I'm not sure I'm with.
We're taking Mara, whether you like it or not. She's never been there. You got to see.
Oh,
this.
really? Mara will like it.
Do you have any kind of affinity for St. Francis, Mara?
She
Sure.
likes all saints.
Sure.
Wasn't he the patron saint of animals?
Saint.
Oh, the prayer of Saint God, grant me this. It's a good one. Let's see if Jiva knows it. Is Jiva here? Oh, wait, I want to test Jiva. Where's Jiva? Let me find her. She left early.
She got the Rona. I gave it to her.
Jiva, are you here? Who knows this prayer of Saint Francis?
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there's hatred,
Where
let me sow
where
love.
there's hatred.
Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there's despair, hope. Where there's darkness, light.
Where there is fasting, prasad. The love gemons offered with love.